What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a look at some yellow Digimon option cards. That's right. We've talked about red, we've talked about blue. If we didn't talk about yellow option cards, it would be frankly rather rude, and I pride myself on being a rather polite fellow. So let's not be rude here, eh? And let's have a little bit of a start off with a rather lovely looking card, Blade of the True. Now, this is one of those that, and you have to forgive me for the phrasing here, because I mean it earnestly, alright? It's a very yellow card. It is exactly what we might expect from a yellow card. It is a 2-cost option card, and for every 2 security you currently have, you draw 1 card. Now, the good news here is we've had it confirmed, not actually been told, but we've seen from other cards, that you can, in fact, have more than 6 security cards down at a time. I mean, if we look just in the cards we've seen from New Evolution, we have got the Seraphimon, that when you play it, you get to recover 1, and alright, I understand that it's a level 6 and blah, 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 blah. Or when you evolve, sorry, not when you play. That's a very important distinction. And you've got to evolve up into a level 6. Get all of that. No argument. Still think it's awesome. And then we also saw a slightly lower one. Little bit easier to get into play. Kind of. We saw Slash Angemon, where if you play it, and this one is play, not evolve, you recovery 1. You gain 1 extra security card. Recovery means you put an extra security card down from the top of your deck. So we have seen a couple of cards that can be played to recover cards, even if you are in the enviable position of already having 5 security cards down. At which point you play this, and we're talking about a 2-cost card that draws you 3 cards, which is nuts. I mean, one of the blue cards I looked at earlier, yesterday, it depends on the order, was Boring Storm, 1-cost card, and when you play it, you draw 1. Well, clearly, paying 2 to draw 3 is better than paying 1 to draw 1. That makes perfect sense to me. Here's the problem. It's only that at the beginning of the game, and even then only when you've got recovery. If you're down to 1 card remaining, this is a 1 security card. This is a 2-cost card that does nothing. If you're down to 3 security remaining, this is a 2-cost card that draws a card, which isn't good. It blatantly isn't good. So look, this is a very good card. On the condition that you are protecting your security with blockers, adding cards with recovery, etc. Because this is awesome when you've got a bunch of security cards, and absolutely terrible jank garbage when you don't. As for the security, when it comes out as a security card, you just draw 1 card for every 2 security you have, and I feel exactly the same as a security card as I do about the main effect. If it comes out in the early game when you got loads of security, yay! Towards the late game, boo! Compare that to Boring Storm, that as a security card lets you pure draw 2. I definitely like Boring Storm better as a security card. I definitely like it better in the late game. I don't like it as well in the early game, but it's a cheaper card, and honestly, I think most of the time it's going to work better. It is a blue card, not a yellow, but then again, we can mix the colours here. Moving on then, how about we have a chance to have a look at Golden Ripper, a 3-cost card that has no security skill, so it better be good. All of your Digimon get, when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon lose 2,000 power until the end of the turn. Oh. Yeah, that's ridiculous. This is like a yellow deck fever dream. I am absolutely over the top, head over heels in love with this card. If you're playing a traditional yellow deck, which why would you not? Because what we can actually do here is lower their power down to 0. And lowering their power down to 0 generally goes pretty gosh darned well. I mean, back in the starter deck, we saw the Patamon. And Patamon says that if you lower one of your opponent's Digimon down to 0 power, you get to gain a memory. Gaining memory is good. Memory is memory is how we play the game, right? If you don't have memory, you can't do stuff. So this is an excellent, excellent thing. We saw Tokomon the Digitama back from the starter deck, where if you lower a Digimon's power to 0, you gain an extra 1,000 until the end of the turn. So these are all looking pretty good. Not to mention we've already got Digimon like Seraphamon that when you attack lowers power by 4,000 anyway. And Magnarangemon who when you evolve from it and attack, you lower power by 1,000. So Seraphamon evolved from Magnarangemon attacking after having played this card means that you will actually be lowering your opponent's or one of your opponent's Digimon's power by 7,000 power when you attack. 4,000 for Seraphamon, 1,000 for Magnarangemon, 2,000 for Golden Ripper. That in and of itself is frankly ridiculously over the top, ludicrously dumb good. And it keeps going. I mean, back in the starter deck, we saw 7 Heavens, a 7-cost card that lowers one of your opponent's Digimon's power by 10,000 until the end of the turn. And though I usually look at these cards separately, I think we should add in Symphony #1 Polyphony, a 5-cost that lowers one of your opponent's Digimon by 7,000 power. You can see these cards need to be looked at together because the analysis becomes exceedingly similar in that you just get to lower power. It's kind of what they do. And all of a sudden, you're starting to look at a real game plan for yellow. And let's face it, this game plan has been there since the starter deck. I've shown you a bunch of starter deck cards already that do good stuff here, alright? But the fact of the matter is, there's plenty more that we can do, and it seems like yellow decks aren't stopping. It seems like they're not content to just go, right, we got a couple of tricks, that's it, we're done, see you later, mate. Because actually, we keep going. The Labramon that we saw from New Evolution has got a rather lovely inheritable skill, whereby if you lower one of your opponent's Digimon to 0 DP, you get to draw a card. Very similar to the Patamon that gives you an extra memory, the big difference being that Patamon is limited to once per turn and Labramon is not limited to once per turn. So that's something you should probably keep an eye on. I could mention the Angemon from this set that lowers one of your opponent's power by 3,000 when you play it. And all of a sudden, these cards just work together beautifully. Remember, you can only attack a resting Digimon, but you can lower the power of an active Digimon. When you attack, a blocker can stop you attacking. When you lower power, a blocker cannot stop you lowering power. And alright, lowering power is just for taking Digimon off the board, it's not for going after security cards, but you know what? I'm still totally okay with this. This seems absolutely fine by me. Yellow decks have been doing this since we got yellow decks, literally since the starter deck. These two cards are going to help immensely, and certainly, right, if you've got a field of attackers, and you then give all of them the power to lower a Digimon by 2,000 when attacking, that's ridiculous. As for whether Symphony is better than 7 Heavens, it depends where you are. I mean, obviously, it's better to pay 5 than 7, but a lot of the time you'll need 7 to lower it, so it really does depend on the metagame at the time you're playing and what decks you're expecting to see. As a side note, Symphony #1 does not actually have a security skill either. Both of these are essentially vanilla. They don't do anything else. They're one-shot deals. Oh, do you want another thing along the same lines? How about Blastfire? A 4-cost card with no security, again, so not much security going on here. But when you play it, you may change one of your opponent's Digimon's base power to 3,000 until the end of your opponent's next turn. Oh. Yeah, that's actually ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to repeat what I've already said about all the cards we've got that can lower power and all of that, and gain an advantage when you lower power. We've done that discussion. But the discussion here is, well, hang on a second. If I'm lowering power to 3,000, that opens up a lot of options. So that Magna Angemon I mentioned a moment ago that was quite nice for helping to lower power, well, you drop that down and you lower a Digimon's power by 3,000, except you've just given a Digimon a maximum of 3,000 power. And look, it's not the cheapest thing to do, alright? I understand that entirely. You've got to pay 4 in order to play Blastfire here, which isn't ideal. And then you've got to pay another 5 to play Magna Angemon, given that it is a play skill, not an evolution skill. So that's 9 in total, but it will get rid of anything off the board. Now, counter argument here, hang on a second, Wossy, won't Gaia Force also get rid of anything off the board? And isn't that an 8 cost rather than 9? Yes, all of that is true. But the thing to remember here is that it's not just the combo. Because you can lower them down to 3,000, then attack with Seraphimon, and they're gone. Or you can lower their power with Magna Angemon, and then destroy them with another Digimon. It's not just a 2-card combo that exists in and of itself. You can also do other stuff using the cards in the combo, and that makes me rather delighted indeed. So yeah, what we're seeing here is 3 different cards, 3 different option cards, all of which give you really, really nice options for lowering power and taking out Digimon. And if that sounds like it's pretty gosh darned awesome, and it should because it is, it actually keeps getting a little bit better. Because the last option card I've got for you is expensive, but oh my word, it's a doozy. Holy Wave. A 6-cost card. Recover 1. Oh. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, fully proper job, over the top ridiculous. I adore this. Bearing in mind, right, you start the game with 5 security cards. When they're all gone, your opponent attacks and you lose. Bad. So what you need to do is either outrace your opponent, or stop them taking security cards, or play a combination of blocker and recovery to essentially be rejigging your security cards. And this is great recovery. I mean, I told you about the best recovery cards we've got so far, right? I told you about the Seraphimon, when you evolve into level 6, gives you a recovery. And I told you about the Slash Angemon that lets you recover when you play it as a 7 cost. This is a 6 cost. Now, when you play Slash Angemon, you also get a 6,000 power Digimon on the field with a nice inheritable skill that gives you an extra 1,000 power for every free security you have. Fine. But actually, this is pretty gosh darned good as well. And the thing is, you don't have to choose between them. What you can do here, if you so wish, is play them together. Play a really heavy recovery deck. Now, these recovery cards we've seen so far haven't been cheap, and when we see cheap recovery cards, they're generally not particularly good. So, I could point you towards the Patamon that lets you recover 1 for just 4 cost when you play normally, and it is a play skill, not an evolution skill. It couldn't be, because an evolution skill would have to be when you evolved in the raising area, because that's the only place you can evolve a level 2 into a level 3, and skills don't work there, so it has to be a when you play skill. But then you're playing 4 to recover 1, but it only works if you have 1 or 0 security. It's not as good in my estimation. It's cheaper, but I don't think it's as good. And if you want the cheapest option we've got so far, Angel Woman, you can evolve for free, as in 1, 2, 3, and you then get to recover 1, but only if your security is 3 or less at the time you evolve it. So no, recovery isn't cheap. But I've shown you some cards that can really gain an advantage from recovery. I mean, might as well give a shout out to a couple of Digitama here that are coming around in New Evolution. We've got Kyuremon. If your security is 6 or more, the Digimon evolved from it gets an extra 2,000 power. And Kyupamon, if your security is 5 or more when you attack, you get to draw a card. So these are clearly very, very nice cards that are going to help you out if you're able to keep a bunch of security on the field. Extra security cards, good. Recovery, good. This card, good. But it is expensive. You have been warned. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the new yellow option cards, and if you were expecting anything other than lowering power and recovering cards, you may be a little bit disappointed, but then again, we probably could have seen this coming. For now, I'd like to know what you think about all of these cards, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about a whole bunch of games. Could be Digimon, could be something else. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.